All right, so the quadratic formula is right on your reference sheet, so you won't even have to learn it. It's plus minus because the square root of numbers could be positive or negative, okay? The square root of 4 is 2, but it could be negative 2 times negative 2, or it could be positive 2 times positive 2. That's why you have that plus and that minus, okay? And then once you apply your quadratic formula, then you can get your zeros, which would be x equal whatever or x equal whatever, right? We've already done the factoring. Factoring is probably the one that I would use. That's my preferred method, but sometimes the quadratics do not factor. So when they do not factor, quadratic formula is a nice option to solve the quadratic equation. Now the good thing about it is that it is completely calculator active. So all you're doing is plugging in the numbers, and the calculator will take the rest. She will do everything else. Okay. So go to your packet. All right, so that is the quadratic formula. And again, you have it on your reference sheet. If you need to take a look at your reference sheet, this is just a little bigger. Now you need to know what is A, what is B, and what is C. A is your quadratic term because it's pair up with the x squared. B is your linear term. And C would be your constant, okay? Now C is also your y-intercept. We've already learned this last week. And we also learned that depending on the positive or negative of the A, the parabola opens up or opens down. If A is positive, where does it open? Up. But if A is negative, it opens down. And then this would be your y-intercept, which is your constant. Okay, so A would be your quadratic term. And B would be your linear term. C is your y-intercept, correct? Which will be your constant. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is make sure that that equation is in standard form, which means quadratic, linear, and then number, right? X squared, then x, and then the number. So once you've done that, you identified what your A is. In this case, A equals 1, B equals negative 2, and C equals negative 15. And you get that from the standard form of the quadratic function, okay? After that, all you're doing is plugging in. The opposite, because the B is already negative, so you would have negative, the opposite of negative 2, plus minus, and then you put you always, when you plug in or when you substitute, you are always putting those numbers inside parentheses. If you don't put them inside parentheses, you're going to get something completely different. So every time you plug in, you put it in parentheses, and you write it exactly like that. B is your negative 2, so that goes around parentheses, minus 4 times A. A is 1. C is negative 15. And then 2 times A, which is 2 times 1. And then the calculator will take care of everything for you, okay? So this would be 4. This is 60. 4 plus 60 would be 64. Square root of 64 is 8. And then you got to say, because you have zeros, and right, and on quadratics you should have 2 solutions because it's a quadratic function. You should have at least 2, right? Or 2 or less, right? You can have none if they don't touch that x-axis, right? Or you can have 1 if they only touch on 1. But in here, it obviously has 2. So it would be 2 plus 8. That would be 10. And 10 divided by 2 would equal 5. So one of these zeros would be 5. And then it would be 2 minus 8, which is negative 6. And negative 6 divided by 2 would be negative 3. So now I have two zeros, which are 5 and negative 3. Now this is what the star will tell you. It will ask you for factors. These are your solutions, right? If x equals 5 and x equals negative 3, that means that parabola touches the x-axis on positive 5 and negative 3. But what are my factors? My factors are the two things that I multiplied to get my quadratic function, which is over here at the top. So what are my two factors? No, 5 and negative 3 are my zeros. What are my factors? All right. Say that again. All right. What are factors? Okay, so obviously you multiply two parentheses to get this. Correct? So what are the factors that I multiplied to get my quadratic function? That's what I'm asking. You got your zero, so this is really easy to do. Evelyn. No. X what? Thank you very much. X plus 3. Daniela? Thank you. Give 100 points to your family. X plus 3 and x minus 5. Good job. Very good, Daniela. That was very good. Very impressed. So, what does that mean? What does it mean that these two are the factors of this function? That when I what? Say it again, Michelle. I'm going to get that function that is x squared minus 2x minus 15. That is what the STAR test will ask you to do. It will ask you to solve, of course, but it would also tell you the solutions for a certain quadratic function are 5 and negative 3. What could be two of their factors? Right? And it's very, very simple to do. If you know what you're doing, it should not take you more than 2 seconds to do. Because it's the opposite of 5, which is negative 5. And then it's the opposite of negative 3, which is positive 3. Because when I get this, that's equal to 0. And when I solve it, I get that x equals 5 and that x equals negative 3. So you cannot forget anything that you have learned so far. All right? Let's go to the back. All right, first step, making sure what? That they're in standard form. We're not factoring, so we're not looking for GCFs over here. We have to make sure that they're in standard form. After you make sure that they're in standard form, you locate your A, your B, and your C. Your A is your quadratic term, so what is it? What is A? Thank you, 1, not x squared, is 1. Your B is your linear term, 8. And your C is your y-intercept or your constant, 15. All right, and now I got to come over here and plug it in the equation, okay? So x equals the opposite of B, which is 8, so it will be negative 8, plus minus 8 squared, because that's B, minus 4 times A, that's 1, times C, which is 15. All of that divided by 2 times 1 because A is 1. All I'm doing is substituting the values of A, B, and C inside the formula. That's all I'm doing. All right. What is 8 squared? 60 what? All right. 4 times 1? Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And negative 4 times 15? Negative 60. And 2 times 1 would be 2. All right. What is 64 minus 60? And all of that divided by 2. All right, so I get that x equals negative 8 plus minus, what's the square root of 4? 2. And now I have 1 with a plus and 1 with a minus. So I got to do the problem twice. All right, what is negative 8 plus 2? Negative 6 divided by 2. X equals negative 3. Very good. What is negative 8 minus 2? Negative 10 divided by 2. All right. These are my zeros. Now I'm going to ask you for the factors. And x plus 5. Very good. So my factors for this would have been x plus 3 and x plus 5. Right? Now this one would have been a lot easier to factor than it is to do all this, right? Yay? Because this is really easy to multiply. 5 times 3 is 15, and 5 plus 3 equals 8, right? That's why you get that 3 and that 5. So after I showed you, after I finish showing you all three terms, and on the test you can pick whatever you want to do. Okay? Unless I say solve by quadratic or solve by this. Okay? Otherwise, you pick the one that you like. Just like systems of equations, I showed you three. Graphing, elimination, and substitution, and then you were able to pick whatever you wanted, right? Same thing over here. All right, so let's do this one, the next one with the calculator, but we're going to go ahead and first substitute. We are not going to go straight to that calculator. I have been doing this for 18 years and I still substitute. For those of you that like to go straight to that calculator, you go right ahead. 8 times out of 10, you will mess it up because it's a long formula, correct? So don't go straight to that. Do not, I'm going to say it again, do not go straight to the calculator. Right, so first step is making sure that is on standard form, and it is. What's my A? 2, the quadratic term. What's my B? Negative 5, that's my linear term. And what's C? 2, that's my y-intercept. And now I'm going to go ahead and plug in. Opposite, negative, but then B is negative 5, right? Plus minus. B squared would be negative 5 squared. Minus 4 times A, which is 2, times C, which is 2. All of that divided by 2 times A, which is 2 times 2. All right, clear your calculator if you haven't done so yet. Should have, because that's the first thing you need to do as soon as you get that calculator. You need to clear. All right, so this is a fraction, so I'm going to go ahead and start writing it as a fraction. So I'm going to do alpha and y equals 2, and I'm going to start writing that fraction. It's just a lot easier if you write it as a fraction. And then just write it exactly like you see it. Negative, open parentheses, negative 5. Now you're going to have to do this twice, one with a plus and then one with a minus. I usually do the plus first because it's on top, and then I do the minus. So I'm going to do the plus first, and I'm going to do square root negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times 2, and then 2 times 2. Now if you want to not write anything and you want to do this in your head and just put a 4 over there at the bottom, you're welcome to. Over here as well, if you want to do negative 4 times 4, you can do that as well. I really don't care. So long as you're doing it in your head and you're doing it correctly and you're plugging it in correctly, substituting it correctly, then we're good to go. Right? I always like to just kind of make sure that I'm doing it right, either by looking at it as I am writing it in the calculator, or at the end going back and making sure that it's correct. Yay? And then you hit enter, and there's your first x. X equals 2. Alright, who the heck wants to write all that again? Not me, because all I need to do is change that plus to a minus, right? So I'm going to do second, enter. She will write the last thing that you wrote back up, and then all I'm doing is going all the way down to that plus and changing it for a minus. That's a lot better than trying to write all this thing all over again, right? Yay? Alright, then you hit enter, and your other one would be 1/2. So my zeros are 2 and 1/2. What are my factors? Be careful. Mm-mm. Thank you. 2x. 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 Huh? Plus minus 1? Minus 1. There you go. Good job. Because in order for that 2 to be down there, it needed to be multiplied by the x. Very good. 50 points, Gabriel, because you were the one that was able to see that really quick, because that's hard to see, right? And when I multiply those two, if you do the box, right, you should get 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and do the box real quick so that I can show you that this, in fact, are my factors. All right, what is this square right here? 2x squared. This one, minus 2x minus 4x, right? And then, I'm sorry, this is 1. Thank you, thank you. And this is positive 2. All right, there's your 2x. There's your negative 5x. And there's your 2. All right? We're good? Yay? All right, let's go to the next one. All right, what do I have to do in that one? First step. Or tell me what do I need to make sure? That it's in standard form. And then how do I do that? I got to do the minus 8, right? So this would be 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. And now I can figure out my a, b, and c, right? What's my a? 3. What's my b? And what's my c? All right, so let's go ahead and substitute. X equals opposite of negative 10, because b is already a negative, right? But the formula already has a negative, so sometimes you're going to see two negatives side by side. Negative 10 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 8. 2 times 8. Now, I don't have to look at the formula because I already know it. But you are going to have to go ahead and take a look at that formula before you start substituting, right? Are we good? Yay? All right, so let's go. And let's write down. I'm going to do the plus first. All right. So I just want to make sure that I copy it correctly. I think I did. Then you hit enter. And x equals 4. And then I'm going to do second enter. And then I'm just going to go all the way to that plus and change it to a minus. Don't write this thing all over again because it's going to take you forever to do any of these tests. And then my other one would be negative 2/3, right? All right, let's get in the habit of writing those factors. What are my factors? X minus 4. 3x, not minus, plus 2. Remember, that 3, in order to be over there at the bottom, it needed to be right beside the x, right? Yes? Yes? This would be x equals 4. And this is take away 2, divide by 3. So that bottom, that denominator always needs to be with that x. Okay, this is another way you go work backwards, and then you can see if it's correct or not, or do the box if you don't mind doing the box. Are we good? Okay? It's pretty easy, but it's a little tedious because you got to substitute it and then you got to go to the calculator and do all that. But it's really, this is very, very nice for when they don't factor. If they don't factor and you got to find those zeros, oh my God, this is the way to do it. Okay? Are we good? Yay? All right, let's go to the back. The next one, right? All right, so the first thing you need to figure out is what? Tell me, tell me, tell me. Figure out if it's in standard form. Very good. And then if it is, then you can go ahead and identify your A, your quadratic, linear, and constant, right? What's my A? What's my B? And what's my C? All right, what's my y-intercept? Negative 20. Does it open up or does it open down? Oh, really? Because it's a negative? It opens up. Very good. What's my linear term? 11. Thank you very much. 11 is my linear term. 4 is my quadratic. C is my y-intercept. Okay, so let's plug in. Minus 11. And then calculator takes over. Yay? So that would be b squared minus 4 times a times c 2 times 1. 2 times a, I'm sorry. Yay? All right, let's go for it. It's really easy to mess up, so don't get too comfortable. I got 5/4 for that one. Anybody that has finished can double check for me. 5/4. All right, then I'm going to do second enter and then go all the way to that plus and change it to a minus. And x equals negative 4. All right, so I want factors. What are the factors for number 1? Very good, very good. 4x minus 5 and x plus 4. There you go. And look, that's 4x squared. That's going to be negative 20. And then that's going to be 4. I'm sorry. These two are going to be 5x. And those two are going to be 16x. And when you take them away, it's 11. You can do the box if you want to. All right, are we good? Yay? All right, next one. First step. Standard form. Is it in standard form? Yeah, so identify your quadratic. What's your quadratic term? 1. What's your linear term? And what's your y-intercept? Okay, does it open up or does it open down? Up. Very good. All right. So the opposite of negative 5. All right, so let's see. This is b. That's b squared. 4 times a times c, 2 times a. I'm just plugging in. Calculator takes over after that. I got 8. I need somebody to double check for me. Yes? Alrighty. And on the second one, I got x equals negative 3. Do not get frustrated if I'm doing it a lot quicker than you are. It's okay. Just continue working. Yay? So talk to me about factors. What are my factors? There you go. That will be negative 24. When you subtract them, that will be negative 5. There you go. See, but something like this, I wouldn't use quadratic, right? I would factor. It's a lot easier to factor for this one. So this is where you have to pick which method do you want to use, which one is easier to use. Now, if you like quadratic more, then that's okay because you don't like factoring. See, I love factoring, so I will always factor before I do anything else. I think that's why I teach it first because I love it. I think it's the easiest one. All right, are we good? All right, number 3, what do we have to do? Standard form. So how do we get it to standard form first? Minus 3? All right. So what's my A? What's my B? And what's my C? All right, what's my y-intercept? Opens up or down? Up. Quadratic term? 1. Thank you. Very good. All right, so this would be opposite of negative of B, which is already negative 3. And then calculator takes over. Yay? All right. Opposite of negative 3. I'm going to do the plus first. Doesn't really matter if you want to do the minus first, you go right ahead. Uh-oh. See, look. I did something wrong. Because it's telling me that it's non-real answer. So I'm doing something wrong over here. So that means that I plug in something that I shouldn't. So I'm going to go back and figure out what I did. Oh, look. I didn't put the minus in front of the 4. All right. So you get a decimal, right? All right. So what happens if these are your options? Let's just say you get this on the calculator, right? And these are your options. Letter A would be, I don't know. Letter B. Right? Letter C. And D. So which one would you pick if that's what you get on the calculator? How do you know? How do you know? Did you work any of those out? Then how the heck do you know? That's what I want to know. How do we just say it's A? Now you can eliminate 2 out of there right off the bat, right? Yes. You can eliminate the 7s because I don't have a 7 over here. Why can you eliminate B? Because it's a negative and it should be a what? A positive, right? But on the STAR test, the answers would not be this obvious to eliminate. Yes, it is A, or it should be. I don't know if it's A or not because I just made up some numbers. I don't know if it is or not. Did anybody work that out? I don't know if it is A or not. When you say 3 plus square root of 21, and then you divide that by 2, you get 3. Look. Yeah, you did. All right. I must have remembered. My brain must have remembered from the other one. But it's not this because it doesn't start with a 7, right? And it's not negative 3 because it doesn't start with a negative times a negative should be a positive, right? But most of the time what you're going to do is you don't panic if you don't see your decimal. You just work those out and you find your decimal, right? Yay? All right. Now, this is why this is a decimal. This would be 3. Hold on. Let me do it on a piece of paper. This is most definitely 3. But when you get over here, you get that negative 3 times negative 3 would be 9. This would be 12. That is 21. And does 21 has a perfect square root? No. That's why you're not getting a decimal. That's why you're not getting a whole number or a fraction like we were getting on the other ones. Okay? So on this one, I cannot ask you for the factors. Because that number over there, oh crap. Okay, I can't get it. That 3.79 was actually an irrational number because it kept on going and it didn't repeat. So for this one, I cannot ask you for the factors. But do understand that you're not going to get that 3.79 on the test. You're going to get something like this. All right? So x equals, those are my roots. Okay? Are we good? All right, let's go to number 4. First step. What? Thank you. X squared plus 5x minus 5. I'm sorry, plus 5. Thank you. All right, so what's my A, my B, and my C? 1, 5, and 5. All right, so this would be negative 5 plus minus 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5 divided by 2 times 1. All right, so 5 squared would be 25, right? 4 times 1 times 5 would be negative 20. What is 25 minus 20? 5. Does 5 have a perfect square root? No, so these are my options. Now again, on the test, it's going to be ABC. You just look for your decimal, so you don't have to worry about doing any of this. All right, number 5 on your own, or as a group. Go. Number 5 as a group.